We're so excited. I don't know who's more excited for Cathy Norman's new adventure,
Oh man,
her or me.
I know we're very excited.
Oh,
One of your mom videos popped up on my YouTube. I shared it with Darrell the other day, and it was
We're
just like
so excited.
amazing.
I
Whenever
know.
I get your mom videos popping up, your mom's videos popping up, it's I feel like straight from the home.
oh, totally.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
yeah.
I even saved
Oh, I see.
Nancy Norman voicemails on my phone.
Oh,
I
I
geez.
do
delete.
too. I'm trying to figure out how
Oh,
to download them.
easy. It's easy. Steve will show you Monday. You could take a voice
You
message.
mean Wednesday?
Okay,
Wednesday.
we are live on the YouTube,
We'll
just so
tell you.
everyone knows.
We'll show you Wednesday.
Okay.
Trying to do this.
It should be coming up.
Okay, I
Because I
see
saw it
it.
on the feed.
You know what? I can do this. I drop in the description. I'll do that later.
Wednesday.
Oh yeah, we could do the
I'll do the
description later.
description into there later, no problem. Um, Maybe Kathy, can you just say a
Oh
quick,
yeah.
quick blessing for the show and get us on our
Oh,
way?
okay. You want me to say something?
Yeah, would you say just a quick affirmative prayer, and then we'll say
Oh, yes, indeed.
the
Yep,
second.
yep, yep. Well, let's just take a moment right now and let's just affirm that this show goes forward to touch the hearts and minds of so many people, and they pass it on to so many people. And so, dear God, we're grateful that we are your channels for your living spirit of truth for the highest good of all concerned. May we be the ripple of greatness, and so it is. Amen.
All
Amen.
right. So now you can mute yourself and mute your video, and we'll be introducing you in about 28 minutes
Yeah, and
or
we can,
less.
let's press record on the audio.
Okay, you ready?
Jeff Comfort, how's that? All right. Let's get this. And we have a great show. All right.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing,
Yes.
where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Thank heavens it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Man, it is time for something new
Yes, it is.
with Reverend Cathy Jean Norman. Man, we're so happy to have her back. We enter into the fountain of youth every time we take a leap of faith. We've been talking a lot about this lately.
That's true.
Trust your intuition as God leading you to greater good. Trust your untried capacity. Embrace change, whether by choice or necessity, as an opportunity for you to share your unique talents and new ways. You will experience more joy, more life, and more miracles. Do not let fear, doubt, or concern slip you a roofie. When God calls us higher, He supplies all the support necessary. All that is required is your willingness to say yes and take one tiny step in the indicated direction. Helen Keller makes it clear life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Above all, know that God never compromises with its opposite. The one practicing must be able to look at a fact in the face and know that all manifestations are effects and can be changed by changing the mental cause. That's pretty much the gist of everything we teach right there.
Yeah.
On this episode, Darrell and Ed discuss how God is always on the road ahead. So accept God's gift of something new by desire or necessity and step into it, and you will enjoy the miracles of all things working together for good. And during the second segment, Reverend Cathy Jean Norman, who has recently stepped out boldly with a new venture, highlights these truths with her experience in today's reading, With God, I Got This.
With God, I got this. Are we going to jump into the 3 breaths because they really kick everything off?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Mike Dugan said. That's great. I can't wait to see what's going to come of this, regardless of what's happening.
And you could do this even if you don't have anything new in your forecast.
That's right.
Like if something by necessity
There's always something new.
out of your wheelhouse that
Yeah.
didn't come up, or you're just going along having a good old time. Well, why not even blow the doors off
Yes.
wide
Totally.
and use this affirmative prayer we got? This is actually a very old I would even call this a prehistoric
I know.
affirmation.
Stone Age. But it works.
Yeah,
It's like all this
because
good stuff.
just because Jesus said these things doesn't make them true. He was just picking up on truths that existed
Yeah.
and sharing with others so they could apply them to their thinking
That's right.
and their living, so they can enjoy. Well, it's actually
Heaven on earth as well.
You know what it is? All these truths can be summed up by the definition as wisdom for happy and successful living.
Yeah, and that's what we all want.
Well, you ready for this
Take
one,
a deep
Ed?
breath. Yabba dabba doo! I'm ready for something new.
Wait, how about this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yabba dabba doo! I'm ready for something new!
Yabba dabba doo! I'm ready for something new! Oh, man.
The more embarrassing your affirmation, I think the more effective.
Yeah.
Because your critical mind is like, oh, I'm
Totally.
not even going to listen to this. But it gets down in the subconscious.
Yeah.
It kicks out all the unwanted
Right.
ideas and thoughts out of the
Yes.
barn. And next thing you know, you're getting something new and improved.
That's right. I just want to share this a quick example because in the description we talked about either by desire or necessity, because we want to talk about stepping out boldly to do that thing you love. You might be, and then sometimes something will show up in your life and you got to yabba dabba do. It's time for something new, or I can't wait to see what good comes from this. And one day this week on the same day, it was two things happened. Well, the same weekend, my son's transmission went out in his car, which was a 2004 vehicle that his grandparents had given him. And then the other thing was, so he decided to take my wife's car down to work, and the tire light went on, like that needs air. We're trying to get our audio right.
Yeah, it's recording it from here, but it's for some reason.
There we go.
This thing jumped off. Now it's back.
All right, this ought to help. There we go. Great. I'm so glad you.
It
fixed
only disappeared, but it was picking up from the computer.
Okay,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
so we
going to
should be
sound
fine.
a little different, but it's not gone.
By the
Okay.
way, Susan Hodgson's watching in Canada. Thank you for joining us. So I just wanted to jump to this. This thing popped up, and actually it is leading to something new because my son has wanted to get a new car. He's considering a new job. So I feel like life is kind of moving him along quicker than maybe he, was thought he was ready for, but he's clearly ready and he's willing. And his car, the transmission goes out, and then we brought it over to this garage. Like you could drive it, but when you were driving, it go boom, like when you switch gears, when it would automatically switch gears. So it was right by our house. He takes my wife's car. The tire light goes on his way down.
What next?
Yeah, so I just had to, of course, I'm still waking up because I'm on vacations, but I just kept blessing it because I've learned there's a simple solution, especially with cars. I grew up not knowing much about cars, but with Darrell's help and just life's help, I've learned it's generally not as scary as you think it is. So I just kept listening, relax and breathe is my mantra, just relax and breathe, to listen for the solution. And that's faith, joyfully anticipate there's an easy solution.
Yes.
So first thing I told him to go to this tire shop that I had used that fixes tires free with a screw, if there's a screw in it. He goes there, it turns out the tires were too old for them to work on it. And it would be 4 hours till they could look at it. So I ended up suggesting, go to Costco, we'll get the tires there. And then it turned out my wife was already kind of needing tires anyway. So this is all moving in that direction.
Yeah.
I meet him at Costco. And we now I'm thinking, oh, this is so simple. Costco, we need a tire. And then the lady's like, we don't have any tires for your size for your car. It's going to be 3 to 5 days. So, but on my way to Costco, I acknowledged that I was I was faithful, but then my subconscious was still kind of grumpy. And I knew if I go in there with this energy, the universe is going to
Mirror
It's going to
yeah.
gunk up the process.
Yes.
So I called Silent Unity. And it was a long wait, so I said, you know what? I feel good. I'm just going to listen to the pre-recorded prayer. I did that on my way in. I was feeling really good. So when the lady said they didn't have the tires, I didn't grumble to her. I just said, great, thanks. And then we laughed together. And, and so I walked with my son to my car, or to his car.
Yes.
And my wife suggested, well, at least have the Costco check the air pressure on your tires. Cause 2 of the tires had been bought at Costco. So instead of just pushing through, because if I was grumbling and feeling sorry for myself, I wouldn't have taken my wife's suggestion. But I said, you know what? Let's do it. So we have the car pull up. This is where the miracles start happening. First of all, of course, the guy was super nice. He checked the pressure. He put air in the tires so that my son could continue to drive safely. But while we're doing that, a lady that I love from my work, Miss Baker, her name is Marta Baker. I didn't even know her first name because I always just say Bake when I see her, because she's such a positive. She walks up with her son, who's like the same age as my son. So it was like an angel showed up. Like it brought this loving energy. Also, it reminded, like when I'm on vacation, I still like to activate part of the brain that works, just so I remember I'm not running from life by having time off. I want to be fully engaged in life. So we saw her. We walked my son drove me to my car. We sat in my car and I was like, son, we need divine intervention, because I didn't know what to do, because we needed tires. They weren't going to have them. I put in tires on my app, my map app on my phone. For some reason, one place jumped up. And for some reason, little things like, oh, they don't have a website. It's called the Tire Hub. For some reason, right after my son, when I told my son we need divine intervention, he agreed. I call the place. The sweetest guy named Ellie answers. And he's like, well, we don't have those tires. And then he says, but I can have them for you by 3 p.m. So, and then he talked about the different options. And I said, well, we want reliable tires. My wife doesn't really drive that much, so it's not like she needs something fancy. Right. And I said, well, how are the lower end cost? And he goes, and he was the right person, because he said, the lowest price one. He's like, well, 90% of my customers get those. They're great tires. I said, fine, give me 4 of them instead of 2, because I was like, she's going to need the other 2 soon enough. We got it all set up. It was so perfect, because my son could drive the car, and then he could take it over and get the tires. And then I had a dental appointment. I was at the dentist in fairly close by when it was time to drop off the car. And while I'm getting my teeth cleaned, my son texts me and says, hey, I'm out here waiting for the tires. If you want to hang out when you're done with the dentist, let me know. And of course, for me, I love spending time with my son. That was one of the beauties of this whole thing. Because I was letting God lead the way, I actually got to do what I wanted to do, spend time with my son. I still felt like I was on vacation. And every time I circulated, or you might call it spent money, because I was putting it in God's hands, because Darrell and I were talking, and I was like, I wonder what good's going to come from this, I was feeling more and more prosperous.
Yes.
It was reminding me of how good of a position I'm in if I can pay for this without worry, because there was times in my life where I couldn't do that. So everything's getting more and more prosperous. So I go meet my son. We eat a sandwich. We're really close to the tire shop. I go in there, and I talk to the guy. He's super friendly. I pay him. And then I got a hunch. I was like, man, Ellie, this has been a crazy day. My son's car went out, the transmission, and he's like, what kind of car is it? And I said, it's a 2004 Camry or Accord, and he's like, that's really weird. I talked to someone else about a 2004 Accord earlier today with the transmission. And little did I know, this is a random tire place I checked off my app. My wife, someone had recommended she call Ellie about the transmission on the other car. We live across town. We don't even live close to this place. I got a hunch to call him. She got suggested. So the whole thing worked out beautifully, because the next day I brought his car over there, and I knew the guy would give me a straightforward answer. He said, you got to sell it. But now he's looking for someone who will buy for parts. It's just like, this thing popped up, and it could have been a nightmare, but instead it just gelled together. And I came away feeling more prosperous instead of defeated. I felt more in love with life, like Darrell will say, more prosperous. So whatever pops up, yabba dabba doo, it's time for something new.
Well, it's because you surrendered to the adventure. I can't look at these things. I don't even like, something is making a weird sound over here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that, or...
Are you hearing something?
Tick. You listen for it. You might hear it.
Yeah.
So, I don't even like, I know some people, instead of problems, projects. I don't even like that. I have to I mean, I understand that's a healthier way.
I actually, yeah, it's funny you say it because I love it. I've been using
Yeah.
that a lot. So, but
I like, okay, what wonderful adventure is this going to be? Like, who am I going to meet?
yeah,
Like, I turn the whole thing out of even me trying to solve it.
yes,
And I just take each step. I wonder who I'm going to meet at this place. I want, this, like, I surrender absolutely to wait, this life is not my own. It's just like, I'm just here to be an ambassador of God's love.
Oh, shit. Shoot.
And God sent,
My mic went out. That's
How do you know?
Interrupt. That's what Cathy.
no,
told
it's,
me.
try
just
now.
went out.
Talk.
What about now? Like it's barely registering.
No, talk.
Hello, hello, hello.
Check this.
Yeah, something's going on.
Hang on. There. Talk.
What about now? Hello, hello, hello.
Wah.
Wah, wah,
There it
wah,
is.
wah. Barely, no.
Hang on. That's weird. Oh, well.
Hello, hello. Now it's back.
Okay.
Wow. Who knows what part of that story anyone heard?
Well, I saw it going during the story. I
Oh,
thought.
that's good.
Yeah, I like surrendering absolutely
Yes.
because it really disengages my brain from thinking I got to solve any of this.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm making new friends. That's what I do. Like, I'll go, okay, I'm going to be making new friends when I
Yes.
call, because I got to call Verizon and Spectrum this week.
Right.
And I've had to make some phone calls last week. But this is the great thing. I'm not even remembering those calls. And normally making these calls that are an inconvenience, seen as an inconvenience. Why is this happening? I shouldn't have to deal with this. We really have to kick that idea, that old way of thinking out of our brain. And here's a great reading. And this goes when we're moving into something new that's desirable. Like, okay, we're talking about out of necessity,
Yeah.
new things.
Mm-hmm.
But what about if it's something desirable? Well, we still can't go back to the old places that we
Yeah.
were in. Like, if we're going to someplace new, we got to forget about how the old place has been running the show. We don't need to go into, well, thank God I'm no longer there, in a negative frame of mind,
Not at all.
like kind of wanting to hang on to a little bit of the pleasure
Yes.
Of,
retelling it.
of the martyrdom, but
Yeah.
we can't because it gets in the way. Recently this week, because we prepare for these shows, but it's based on the inspiration during that week because we're living this stuff. So the first thing was I saw Cathy Norman's talk on Sunday. It was her last official talk at
Oh, it's
Unity
great.
at Santa Barbara. And I immediately thought about Cathy and her moving on. I thought, it's time for something new. I'm jumping on board with that thought for Cathy Norman, and it's going to be good.
Right.
And so that helped me. When this happened, a few days in the week, I had been, there's an artist who lives in the neighborhood, an acquaintance, and the magazine, Culver City Neighbors.
That we both have a column in it now called Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
He asks me from time to time, do you know anyone who would be a good feature story? So I said, oh, why not them? So that was a month or so ago, and I just saw her recently, and she told me it's going to be out in June. I was like, oh, this is exciting. And then I started thinking about something else about the art she makes, and something positive, like another connection, help making her another connection. And I was so enthusiastic about it. I told her about it, and it wasn't really as well received as I thought it would be. And I could feel my mind after I hung up starting to go negative. Like, why did I even tell her? That was silly. Or, what does she think about me? And then, oh, well, she's the villain in this story. And you know what? Because the idea for this show came up, I go, no, I am not going to even recall this. That this is in the past as far as something that happened to me in kindergarten, which I can't even recall, meaning the past is the past. Shut it like a closet door, foomp, and close it off. And Charles Fillmore even said, thoughts are things and they take up space in our subconscious. And if we're not willing to let go of these old grievances, of these old regrets, of these old resentments, well, then there's no room for the new improved ideas, for the new improved opportunities. And this little reading, which just came out the day after the incident, sums this up perfectly. Storing up grievances is not only a waste of time, but a waste of life that could be lived to greater satisfaction. If I keep a ledger of oppressions and indignities, I'm only restoring them to painful reality. As Lewis Carroll wrote in Through the Looking Glass, the horror of that moment, the king went on, I shall never forget. You will, though, the queen said, if you don't make a memorandum of it. We can't make room for new things unless we let go of past things. Am I keeping a secret storehouse for the wreckage of my past? And here's a great little meditation it gives. I am free from harboring the sludge. I love that. The sludge for the past. Grievances, annoyances, grudges, oppressions, wrongs, injustices, put down slights, hurts. I empty my storehouse of old grievances. And a little reminder is, don't rattle old bones.
That's right. And Emmett Fox on November 20th in Around the Year has a great one called Never Look Back, which goes right with what you're just saying. He says, never look back, always go right ahead. Even if you are quaking, go right ahead. Jesus said the man who puts his hand to the plow and then turns back is not worthy of the kingdom of heaven. He also said, remember Lot's wife. No matter how unattractive or how dangerous the road ahead may be, it is better than the road back. The road ahead may be veiled from sight, but you must teach yourself to regard the unknown as friendly. Remember that God is always on the road ahead.
Yes.
And dude, before the show, we picked up this book from Foster McClellan called Letters to a Friend, where he says most of us hang on to the past, and this is one of our greatest faults. Inner emptiness is the result of failing to let go of the past, failing to move forward to what lies ahead. Let's not waste our mind substance on what is finished. Let's not waste our mind substance on what is finished. Let's find new ways, new plans, new life. Our help comes from within, so let's avail ourselves of this help. There is no other source for anyone. In a very real way, it is all up to us. Affirm this day, I turn within and let God guide and direct me in all my ways. God will bless us richly in new and exciting ways.
Yes.
Nice.
You want to read
Yes.
Janet Prince's? Now, Janet, that book that Ed just mentioned by Foster McClellan, he was a Unity minister.
Yeah.
And this is from a friend of ours who was a friend of Nancy Norman's also.
Yeah.
And she is what's her position at the Kanawha Valley, Unity of Kanawha Valley?
She is the head of she is currently leading the prayer chaplain program.
Yes, she also gives sermons.
Yep.
Like once a month.
Yeah, and she sends them to us, which we love. So thank you, Janet. Did we tell her how to, if you want one of these, email DansonJP. Is it Danson? Excuse me, let me say it right. Danson Purple JP. Danson without a G. DANCIN. purplejp@gmail.com.
It's her book, Little Prayers.
And she says, new day. Thank you, God, for this new day. Today I see the good in every situation. Today is a day of harmony, joy, peace, and love. Thank you for this beautiful world. Thank you for my glorious life. I was thinking that, like, I think why I've been using that word project, I think it's basically what you call journaling, because the project part for me is to give that part of my brain somewhere to write down. Like I've been recording an album, and if someone says something, that a line that stands out to me, I write it in there. If anything related to music that inspires me, I write it in there.
Yes.
And it helps me just connect those dots to see, because I like what you're saying too. The idea of project is not to get stuck back in your head like I'm the one solving it.
Yeah.
If you're using it properly, which is really more akin to what Darrell calls journaling,
Yes.
it's plugging me in so that I can see the miracles. Because the other day, my wife sometimes she'll look at me and go like, "Where do you come from?" Like, because like you're like an alien. She said, "Where'd you come from?" And I said, "I don't know, but I can't wait to go back." And we both started laughing. And so I wrote that down because it brought us joy.
Yeah.
And then what happens to me when I'm playing more music, which I've been doing lately for fun, my hand will start playing something. So I had these chords, and then I'll kind of like, oh, where's this trying to go? And then I'll record it on my phone. So I wrote down the thing that my wife said, and I said, you know what? I want to write a song today. But it felt really far away, so I looked in the journal, and I said, I just had a hunch. I bet those lines will go with these chords. And like the song came together so quickly. So it's so helpful to use the journaling method, or because I got it from Butterworth. If you look at the new thing that you're going to embark on, and it starts to feel like it's a problem, like, because what'll happen is people have a new thing and they'll start telling some old story. But I don't follow through with things, or I don't do this. It's like, all of that is just getting in the way of God working. So just start writing down what you do know, what does come to you, what you are inspired by, and taking those little steps. Because I love this. Is really about getting into the now new moment where God is working.
Well, you just reminded me of something. We got to wrap up this segment.
Oh, yes.
But real quick, one of our listeners and good friends, Glenn Brewster, called, and he's working on a documentary.
Yes.
About a historical figure in Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
So he called me this week, and we were talking, and he was getting bogged down. He was asking my opinion and advice because I've done video work, and he was saying how, oh man, do I need insurance? Do I not need insurance? What about permits and not permits? And it was so funny because I just a few weeks ago, we started reading the book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. So
we did a show.
I told him, I said, first of all, I understand what you're doing. I've done that too, and I can still do it, where I start putting too much intelligence ahead of where I am. And I said, I used to do that a lot, and Mike Dugan helped cure me of it, and he would say, Darrell, forget that. You don't even have to worry about that today. We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. And since Glenn referred the guest, the minister he goes to see at Unity. Oh, no, it's not Unity. What's Joan Stedman?
Is it Agape by the Sea or something?
Agape by the Sea.
Yeah.
So she's been teaching a workshop on the same book. So I said, funniest thing, Glenn, I just read this in the book. And David Schwartz gives this example. He went to high school with a guy that he looked up to who was considered most likely to succeed. He got all the star academics, great guy. And he was going to college, and he was always telling everyone, as soon as I get out of college, I'm going to be starting my own business. And no one had any doubt about it. 10 years later, David Schwartz bumps into him and says, how's the business? And the guy said, well, I never really started the new business. And David goes, well, what happened? What are you doing? And he's still at the feed store, albeit moved up the ladder a little. But he said, well, what happened? He goes, well, when I would get to college, I was taking business courses, and I was taking finance courses, and I was taking accounting courses, and it became very clear because we were learning about all the things you need before you start a business, the things to be concerned about. If you're going to start a business, having the right amount of capital, then you got to think about insurance.
Right.
You got this. And the point of the story of David Schwartz was, and he knew other kids that people never thought would amount to anything.
Right.
And those kids became very successful. Mm-hmm. And he goes, it's not intelligent. He goes, sometimes too much intelligence can create too much concern.
Right. That's right.
So the thing is to know, and this is the benefit we all have and what we try to share on the show, with God as your business partner, you can, if you can rely on that, you will get the support. People will pop into your life. And the end of this, the thing with Glenn, I was just saying, Glenn, you know what? You're going to go places and you're going to ask, hey, can I shoot here? It's part of this story. And the guy is going to say, oh, yeah, no problem. Or he's going to say, well, you know what? They normally ask us to make sure you have insurance, but our building insurance will cover that. I go, everything will work out as you step towards it. As we step toward the desire, just like Dugan told me, we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. Meaning our needs will be met only where we are each step of the way.
Yes.
I can't try to build all this stuff up ahead of time, or my concern will outgrow my enthusiasm, and then I just cave in, or I don't do it, or I'm not ready, and nothing changes.
Yes. Treating the concern instead of the condition is the number one thing for one way to look at the metaphysics. The other way is looking at the outside, trying to have all the right things. But if you let go of the concern, it's so, so important. I mean, that's been coming up a lot for me as well. That's amazing. Let's thank our Patreon people. Thank you for contributing to the show.
And like we said last week, Darrell and Ed, we both realized how much of an interruption it is to listen to our favorite podcasts that are loaded with commercials.
Yeah.
And the reason we're able to do this show commercial free all the time, everywhere, is because of our Patreon community.
Yep.
And
that's right.
Yeah. So if you appreciate what we do and you want us to help reach more people and keep this thing commercial free, just like public TV.
Yeah.
Even if it's $1 a month, $5 a month, any contribution helps us to continue to produce the show commercial free.
Yeah, you can find the link in either the podcast or on the YouTube and patreon.com/funniest thing. We got a great postcard from Lois Conklin. It says, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sunshine warm your face and the rains fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. It says Darrell and Ed from Lois Conklin, March Blessings, and it has some great art, some St. Patrick's Day themed art on the front. If you want to send us something, funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We want to thank our chief engineer,
Jeff Comfort.
Makes that audio podcast sound so good because each week
he takes us
right into the comfort zone. Nice. I just remembered the lines for the song that I wrote. I love this because it's a reminder of what we're saying. It's she said, where you come from, and I said, I don't know, but I can't wait to go back. And she said, where you going, and I said, I don't know. This is the part, but I can't wait to find out. That reminds me of I can't wait to find out where this is going. I don't need to know, but I know
it's good.
I know it's good. So I can't wait to find out where this is going, because coming up next, Reverend Cathy Jean Norman, truly one of the great truth teachers on the planet at this time, has an amazing knack for telling stories, for the laughter that comes out of Cathy when she speaks, lets us know that she's speaking our love language. She highlights these truths with her experience in today's reading, With God, I Got This, which is by Joyce Kramer. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
All right, Cathy, you could unmute.
Are you going to tinkle? Yeah. All right.
There we go. Yeah, you know what? We could hear you, but it was very faint, but it's not like we didn't hear the story.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think whatever. You live and these things happen.
Well, you know what? It worked out beautifully because you were telling the story how there was mishaps, and then there was a mishap with your sound, and I thought, oh, that's that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, right. That is
Mhm.
interesting. That's right. We've never had that before, and we shall never have that again. But it has worked itself out. Thank God you were there to let us know.
Well, I'm glad you looked at your text.
I know. Yeah. So as soon as Darrell gets back, we can jump back into this show.
So what happens when people are watching live? Are they watching this or what
Yes.
happens?
That's the thing. We don't edit the live on YouTube. Be good to probably tell you that. But they get to hang out with us on the breaks and such, and just kind of like hang out in the studio with us. And sometimes we have other things that they don't hear during the audio podcast. And like we know Lois Conklin's watching. She said, "I'm here live. Glad you guys got my card, shared it. Good to see Cathy." Barbara Weatherman says hello to you as well. So, what do you know?
How great is that?
Yeah,
I
and it's
love
so
it.
easy because through Zoom, there's a button you push to go live, and then once you sign in once to YouTube or Facebook, even if you want to do it that, and we do it live on YouTube, and then we also share it on Facebook, so it goes to both places. So
Oh,
yeah, it's
see,
super
I just
easy.
learned I learned something new.
There you go. Okay, so should we jump back in?
Yeah, let's jump in.
All right. All right, welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. It is time for something new. We have Reverend Cathy Jean Norman. I also wanted to say that Reverend Joan Stedman is Agape Bay Area. Because I said the wrong title
Okay.
before, so she's at Agape Bay Area. We love Joan Stedman. Do you know Joan Stedman, Cathy?
I do not.
She was on
I
like
don't think I do.
one of the founding members of Agape Spiritual Center.
But don't hold that against her. She's very much like Nancy Norman.
She is amazing, joyful truth teacher. She
Yes.
was on our show, but you would very much love her.
Nothing like
Oh,
what you would, nothing like you would imagine
Yeah.
Beautiful.
based on what I just shared. But man, I was like, is this like she's really like has the spirit of your mom? Like she is into this stuff
Fantastic.
and she's
Yeah.
enthusiastic about
Yes.
it. It blew our minds.
Yes.
Good. Oh, good. Oh, I look forward to meeting her sometime.
Yes.
Yeah,
You two would hit it off.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you
Good.
guys should meet each other. Yeah, by the way, your mom always has a way of finding her way to me and to Darrell when we need it. Just this week on YouTube, on my screen, it popped up her weekly wisdom, "Life is an inside job," and it was just what I needed to read.
Oh,
Not hear,
perfect.
excuse me, and see. And I
Yeah.
swear, I've told you this before, but whenever I need an inspiring thought, she taught us to look up 45 degrees.
Oh.
I raise my eyes to the hills from which my good comes, my help comes. And I not only do I get new thoughts, but I feel her presence and we're laughing. Yeah, so thank you for that.
Thank you for introducing
it.
us to her.
Yes.
Yeah, that worked out, didn't it?
Yes. So so you've been listening, and I know you saw the description beforehand. So maybe you could share your thoughts on today's subject.
One of the things, and just for the listeners, is that I think it was in the 1980s. You know how sometimes you hear a teacher and they say something and it just sticks. And in the 1980s, I had this, I don't even remember who the teacher was, but I remember him saying that chaos always comes before a huge transformation. And so, I'm looking at the state of our, of the world, basically. There's chaos, something's being birthed. It's a new beginning. And just like, it was somebody told me this last week, with a woman going through labor pains, she's not focused in on, all the fluid and such that's coming out. She's focused in on the end result, but during it's very painful, but she knows the end result's going to be fantastic. And that's the new beginning. So, and I noticed this taking over my mom's online ministry. There were times when it was like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing. The website, it was so crazy. But that week before, I think I told you, Darrell, that because the person that was doing the website, he wasn't around, and so I'm thinking, I don't know what to do, and I'm praying and I'm asking for help. I get down on my computer, and it was as if I knew how to do a website. I've never done a website in my entire life. Completely redid the whole thing, was able to get it done in time for our class on Thursday. So it was that. It was chaotic, but I knew the end result was going to be good. That's the new beginning. So I just want to let your viewers know that if it's chaotic for you, great. Something new is being birthed. You're going through the labor pains. So it's a fantastic thing.
That's our untried capacity that Ella Wheeler Wilcox talks about. When I surrender to this thing, I've had moments like that too, where things that seemed beforehand so out of my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
I just said, okay, I give up. I got to just surrender. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm not going to panic and now try to, you know, scheme, find people. I'm just going to let it go for a bit. And
Yeah.
then something inside me goes, well, why don't you give it a try? And then I'm like, in the Bourne Identity, I'm like Jason Bourne. And all of a sudden, I'm like, how did I know how to fight these guys off? How did I know how to do that? That's the untried capacity, that our real self is so much more than we tell ourselves it is. And then we add concern and it dampens it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we were talking about, and you said in the first half, oh, this is it. I like that Mike said all the time, and it may, some of the listeners might think it's a joke. We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it, because it's really, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But there was something about him saying, you'll jump off, don't worry, Darrell. We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. Meaning we're going to abandon ourselves to God again when we get to that moment.
Yeah.
And we know by just jumping off,
Yeah.
it will work out.
It always does. And, I think it's Brene Brown who just came out with, or no, she came out with this book quite some time ago, but the title is Let Them. And I love it because whenever it's like, you're in that crunch, you're judging, like what you said, Darrell, you could have judged your whole experience, been in resistance, but you didn't. You just let it.
Yeah.
It's like let it be. Once you let it be, then there's something bigger that can orchestrate itself. And the orchestration of the end result is always beyond your wildest dreams. That's why it's called the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like that little reading said, we don't want to carry around the sludge of still being resentful of things maybe we just went through that caused our new adventure, or just old things in general. I don't want, because that doesn't allow the new improved things to come in. As long as I have my mind entertaining any one of these numerous ghosts in the closet, I'm finally going to throw these old shoes out of my closet, because it really is like these little resentments and slights. They really are like me going, I'm going to clean out my closet today. And then I pick up the shoes and I go, oh, I might need these someday. And you don't throw them out, or you don't
Yeah.
give them away. Or
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to fit in this again one day. I'm really going to be losing weight. No, I got to let go. It's not doing me any good. It's not doing me any good, and it's blocking the good. It's blocking
Right.
more new, improved experiences and opportunities from me.
Yes, indeed. And that is such a great example. You just reminded me I need to clean out my closet. But that being said, it's a great example of, okay, just let it go, because there's
Yes.
always a void and the void is always being filled. So
Yes.
that's so fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, and when we're struggling, it's just we're not looking in, like you were talking about. if we're giving birth, like, don't look at the sludge, look at the potentiality that is
Yes.
happening. And
Right.
that can elevate us totally out of the pain entirely. I love this book, God Will See You Through by Mary Kupferle. And she says, relax and let go. Let go of your doubts, fears, and anxieties and tensions about anything in your life. Let go and let the divine plan of good unfold. Let it. Surrender your thoughts, your feelings, your entire being to the divine plan. Remember that there is a divine plan for the right outworking of even the smallest detail, every greatest need and desire. Stand fast in this awareness that there is a divine plan at work in your life. And she gives a suggestion. This was amazing. I was at surfing yesterday, and at one point, my buddy goes, Pelivision, he calls it. Like a big school of pelicans flew, like so many, right over me, and I was watching them. And they actually surf the waves as they go along the beach. They'll ride. If you look
Beautiful.
closely, they're riding on the energy. It's just amazing. They're so graceful. So I get home, and Mary Kupferle's talking about this visualization. She says, I imagine myself in the process of stretching my wings of faith. I felt myself flapping my wings. And she's talking about the pelicans she saw. And so I had seen the pelicans earlier in the day, and she suggests you don't have to wait for next week or month or year or until all your challenges are dissolved or removed from your life. You can be free now. This freedom begins within your mind, within the innermost self of you. And then she says, to help bring this about, begin now to practice these 3 simple steps outlined for you here. Quietly visualize the flight of the pelican. So that was so easy for me. I saw them that morning. So visualize the flight. It's just because they're huge, graceful birds. And she was talking
Yeah.
about how they start flying, but then they just catch the current and they just coast. They don't even flap their wings, really. Realize that you have wings to use. This is the other thing. Everything that I think is a problem or I think is going to changes the moment I realize I can fly. I don't have to walk. I definitely don't have to crawl. I definitely don't have to grovel. I definitely don't have to care about what anyone or anything else is doing around me. I can fly. So realize that you have wings to use and flap these wings by decreeing, I am free with the freedom of Christ. Finalize your acceptance of freedom as you rest upon the spiritual current of truth and trust it to set you free. As you practice these steps, you will become more peaceful. You will feel more secure, even before any outer change takes place.
Oh, that's so perfect. And it was perfect that it was shown to you as a
Yeah.
symbol of what maybe you could do in your life. Because there you are, you're looking at all the pelicans, and then you come home and there's another sign. That's
Yeah,
one of the things that I love about spirit is that, it's like you're almost a detective in a way. You
definitely.
gotta you gotta have the vision to be able to see the signs and the guidance, and then it's like breadcrumbs. You just
Yes.
follow each thing. So that was perfect. And
Yeah. And what you're saying, Emma Curtis Hopkins nailed it home for me, which is something Darrell has been teaching and saying for a long time. But having practiced it and having then read this, where she said, like, if you're not feeling like the full power, if you're living this way and you're seeing healings, and people like aren't going, wow, this stuff's amazing. Wow, you live this way. She says, probably because you're not writing it down, like what you're doing, what's working. And that's why I'm so big on this whole writing these things and catching, connecting the dots, like
Yes.
taking you, because we might say, yeah, I know what happened. But take the time to write. Like, I am reprogramming my subconscious mind. And since I've been doing this, I've noticed when I say something, people take more note of it because I believe it more. I'm converting my own mind to believe it more and more and know it more and more, because that's how we see it. And that's how we are open to it, by I'm converting my own mind to, this is actually how I operate now, not this old thoughts or the old pressures. I operate on this plane. I fly. And the more I write it down and the more I take note of it, the more my subconscious gets on board and the more life reflects it back to me. And when I say it, it has greater authority without me like being authoritative, but just sharing, from that place, and people do take note.
one of the things, because I love that, I practice something similar in that the subconscious, as you know, doesn't know the difference between reality and, what's made up. So I always write down, thank you, as
Yes.
if it already happened.
Yes, me
And
too.
then,
Yep.
Same.
and it's, gratitude is the gateway drug.
Yes.
It allows you to feel good and to change the chemicals in your body.
Yes.
So I always just thank God in advance, or not in
Yes.
advance,
Yes.
but as it already, it just like,
Yeah.
get
Yes.
into the feeling of
Yeah. Yeah.
this already happened. Thank you, God. And it always does.
Totally. When you
Either
said
that or something better.
that's the
Yeah.
flying that because this is the because as soon as you said I'm grateful, you actually you opened your wings like that. And that's the flying we're talking about. Like the feeling, it's a thought feel the feeling is when we know we are flying. And it is a very different
Yes.
universe. And I love what you're saying because our subconscious mind, once it knows we're flying, and it's good to practice it when we're sitting alone and there's no distractions and there's nothing for my subconscious to go, but what about? It's like, yeah, I agree with you, man. It's because it's powerful.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if
I
it's a new universe or it gets me in harmony with God's will, with the actual real universe.
It's the truth
It
with a
gets
T.
me
Yes.
back in harmony with the great reality.
Yes. Agreed. But it's like beholding I make all things new to my mind sees it in a new way. I agree with you.
Yes.
It's actually the truth that's been there. That's why it's like we don't harp too much on the past or these ideas that we have. Probably it doesn't matter. As soon as we open up with a renewed perspective to the good that's ever present, everything adjusts. God's law of
Yes, it
adjustment is
does.
instant.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Instant.
well,
Yeah.
isn't that why wake up is quoted 9,682 times in the Bible?
Right. I didn't know that.
Really?
That
I
makes
did not
sense.
know that. I
Well,
just learned some.
I
Or
just
did you
made up
make it up? You
I
made
just
that
made
up?
up that number, but it's in there quite a bit. Vigilant, be vigilant. The word
Vigilant.
vigilant, actually mean the definition is wake up, or awake.
Yeah, be awake too. That's why
Ah,
they call those mass a vigil because you're a vigil because you're up late, you're awake at that hour. Easter
right.
vigil.
Yeah,
Gosh,
yeah.
I learned something new. Thank you
It's a
Be
so
much
much.
better word than what I thought it was. Because I thought vigilant was like vigilante or like something, I don't
Right.
know, kind of aggressive or something, but vigilant, it's just, I'm just awake to
or
what's going on.
or be vigilant means be mindful because you're always screwing up.
Yeah,
No,
stodgy.
it just means wake up,
Wake up.
be
I
awake.
love that. All right.
Yes.
Next week's podcast is Vigilant.
Be vigilantes.
Yes.
Well,
That's
wait,
right.
we don't want to go late. We were wrapping up the show on time today, folks. So, do you want to do the Joyce Kramer reading now?
I shall, you guys. Hold on. Let me get to this because it really is beautiful. All right. Here we go. Okay, time for something new. We enter into the foundation of youth every time we take a leap of faith. Trust your intuition as God leading you to your greater good. Trust your untried capacity. Embrace change, whether by choice or necessity, as an opportunity for you to share your unique talents and new ways. You will experience more joy, more life, and more miracles. Do not let fear, doubt, or concern slip you a roofie. I love that. When God calls us higher, he supplies all the support necessary. I say amen to that. All that is required is your willingness to say yes and to take one tiny step in the indicated, wow, dyslexia just came in,
Yes.
indicated direction. Got it. Helen Keller makes it clear life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Above all, know that God never compromises with its opposite. The one the one practicing must be able to look at a fact in the face and know that all manifestations are effects and can be changed by changing the mental cause. On this episode, Darrell and
I don't
Ed
think you need.
discuss how God always is on the road ahead.
I don't think you
She's,
need to read that part
but that,
again.
but that was Joyce Kramer saying that.
No, that was the show description. But Joyce Kramer is the other reading that's below that, which is
I did the wrong thing.
No, but it was just as good as a
But
Joyce
you,
Kramer.
but you know what I loved? I loved that
yes.
when it said, "Do not let fear, doubt, or concern slip you a roofie."
That's right.
Well,
That's what we needed to hear again.
well, you know what's funny? That was in my the book. What if Godzilla just wanted a hug? Don't let
Yeah,
reason
yeah, yeah.
slip you a roofie. And a
Yes.
museum asked me to talk about that, but they got so hung up. Could you please not use that word? And I said, what word? And then I said, wait, oh, okay. I go, you mean roofie? Oh, yes, because some people will be offended. I'm thinking, really? I mean, okay. So we'll change that because
Yeah.
it's just a, whatever. People's minds get wrapped in on things
Yes.
and they
But that's
make it,
exactly, I'm telling you, that was perfect because that's
yeah,
exactly what happens. It's
yes,
very addictive. Our negative thoughts are so
yes.
addictive that it is like being slipped a roofie. So
And
that was perfect.
and it's incapacitating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
done.
Yeah, well, because it unplugs us. Remember, fear being false evidence appearing real. It's very compelling. It appears real, and it actually unplugs us
Yes.
vibrationally from reality with a capital R, which Darrell has mentioned, the true reality. It feels
Yeah.
new because we plug back into what's already going on a much more satisfying, broad, like, oh,
Right, right.
great awareness of heaven on earth now.
Well,
Well,
we got
so I read the wrong one. You guys are going to have to read it
No,
next week.
yeah,
Don't
we can drop it into the description of the show so
Yeah,
people
so
can
easily.
see it. Yeah,
Okay.
that was perfect. Hearing you read that again was kind of a nice summation of the show.
I thought that was it. When I read it the first time, I thought, man, I like this.
Me,
Well,
me
there you
too.
go.
Yeah, nothing happens by mistake on
That's a
funniest
great
thing.
compliment.
I
That-
didn't think that Joyce Kramer would use the word roofie, but I thought, well, that she was pretty hip sometimes.
She was
Yeah.
very hip.
Those were swinging times at the village back then.
Are you ready? We got a story about you.
Yeah, well, so
Okay, I'm
Cathy
ready.
Norman, Reverend Cathy Jean Norman was in a taxi on her way to middle school studios when she tapped the driver on the shoulder to ask him a question. The driver screamed, lost control of the car, nearly hit a bus, went up on the sidewalk, and stopped inches from a shop window. For a second, everything was quiet in the cab, and then the driver said,
Look, lady, don't ever do that again. You scared the living daylights out of me.
Cathy apologized and said,
I didn't realize that a little tap would scare you so much.
the driver replied,
Sorry, it's not your fault. Today is my first day as a cab driver. I've been driving a funeral van for the past 25 years.
That is good. That is good.
this show is so good that it's even been known to wake the dead.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Cathy.
Yes.
For joining us. We put unityjoyoflife.org is where you can find Cathy's ministry. She has a Thursday ongoing class on Zoom.
Yes.
That you can access through the website. And anything else you want them to know about your new ministry?
No, just I look forward to if you want to join on Thursday night, 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Zoom. It's the 5 languages of love, unity style, and we're actually starting this coming Thursday. Last Thursday was just an introduction, so
Perfect.
we're on our way. It was a great group of people on Thursday, so I'm sure
Yes.
this Thursday will be even better.
Your mom is so happy that you're on board.
I know, and
Yeah.
I feel her. I feel her helping me out.
Yeah, you know how we know? Because she was always happy about whatever it is. She's blessing it a success.
And I got
That
a
is
new
so true.
I got a new podcast.
Oh, yes.
The Intuitive Method,
Yes.
where
Yes.
where I talk basically was inspired by Nancy Norman to do this workshop, and I had the workshop, and I said, you know what, I should turn this into a podcast.
Yes.
So it's the intuitive method.
Nice. Yes, yes, and yes.
The Intuitive Method with Darrell Fazzaro. You can look it up wherever you get podcasts and enjoy it there. I want to thank you all for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. And please subscribe, share the show with your friends. We have a nice little song.
73 men sailed up from the San Francisco Bay, rolled off of the ship, and here's what they had to say. We're
Calling everyone to ride along
to another shore.
We can laugh our lives away and be free once more. But no one heard them calling. No one came at all.
'Cause they were
Too busy watching those old raindrops fall. As a storm was blowing
How long is this?
out on the peaceful sea. 73 men sailing off to history. Something new.
Oh, something
Ride,
new.
Captain, ride upon your mystery ship. Be amazed at the friends you have here on your trip. Ride, Captain, ride upon your mystery ship. On your way to a world that others might have missed. Woohoo!
Woohoo! I love you guys. God bless
Love you too. Have a great day. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
Everyone out
you.
there on YouTube.